Good morning, another day, another dollar. I am getting ready to weld up all these bad boys and probably then some. That way I got some backlogged. That way when I get orders, I just ship them out. I don't have to weld them as I go. I'm in the shop today by myself. Alex and family, like I said, they went to, she's got a couple things she's got to go do for the show and for roadkill. And I decided to stay back so I could get work done because I really want to get some stuff done on this Nova bracket. And like I said, I've got orders that need to go out, and I got work that needs to get done on the Nomad, and I need to get this other Mustang in. So I got a lot of stuff that I need to get done. As much as it kills me not to go, I just couldn't. So here I am. I've got my little piece here that I've already dropped and broke, so I have a bolt holding it together, which worked out because I needed to see clearance for the bolt also. But my version 6 Nova bracket's done, and I'm getting ready to get that off the build plate. And once I get done welding all this stuff up, I'm going to bring the Lebronze Nova over here, and I'm actually going to start hacking and cutting on it, so that way I can perfectly make that fit. If I have to print another one, make another one, whatever I got to do, make whatever adjustments I need to make, so that way I can get my file done and sent to Bruner and get these things getting made. That way I can get them in rotation. I can get in the line for Bruners. I can get them on the site. I may even do a pre-sale, so that way I know exactly how many to order, and then some, because I'd hate to order, say 50 kits, but I sell 75 kits and then not be enough. I want everybody to get what they need. I want to be able to sell as many as I can. That's just more money for me moving forward to put back into the business, get Uncle Sam going, further my education and learning experience on parts production and custom fabricating. But for now, I'm going to get the welding. I'm going to get that off the, okay, sorry. Scratch the welding. I'm not getting the welding. I'm going to get this off the build plate, see if I want to make any adjustments, so that way I can get stuff printing before I weld. So I'm going to take a look at this thing, see what I want to do with it. And then I'll get the welding, and then I'm gonna bring Lebronze over. So I will put this camera up on my tripod, and I'll just take you guys along with me.
Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told them all that I will soon.
So this actually fits a lot tighter than before. Stick it up for you. And it's pretty much just about perfect. The only thing I have to check now is the shock body clearance right here, because before that was the issue I was having. That's why I had to make this longer and redo this and all that, because I had it down here and it just didn't really work out. So I'm gonna have to go grab me a shock and see how that works out. So it looks like even if my OD of my spring is a 2.5 inch ID spring plus say half an inch, that's 3.5 inches. We still have plenty of clearance, which the spring probably won't be till all the way down here. So I think we're Gucci on that aspect of it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get, like I've already said a million times, I feel like I just tell you guys what I'm doing over and over again, but I'm gonna get these parts welded up so that way I can get these things shipped out to people that have their orders in, and then I'm gonna get Lebronze over here and start hacking on it.
I'm in a whip, so I gotta zoom. They tryna talk, they not in a room. I've been so real, I'm dead to the tomb. They in the way, they gotta move. I gotta gas, they running on fumes. Told them way back, it's something new. It's me and Dan, you gotta choose. I'm taking what's mine, I'm doing fine. Don't see the vision, they looking so blind. I hit my lawyer, don't got the time. Crossing my T's and he dotting those eyes. Don't take offense if I do not oblige. I can't belabor like none of these guys. They hit me once and I'm cutting the ties. I was so low, but I'm back on the rise, it's real. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told them all that I will soon, soon. Knew as a child back in the womb. Oh, told them step back, I need my room. gotta go. I'm looking back, they not even.
Welding is donezo. I just am waiting on actual hardware to come in from Granger for my brackets to ship those out, and I'm just going to go grab some boxes to ship out these motor plates. Everything turned out really nice. MIG weld's looking pretty dang good, and these are actually, I even welded under here where the 3 pieces are that, you know, locate it, and then ground them flush, so that way it just adds a little bit of strength, because I know if people use these the way I use them, they get used pretty tough, so they're pretty rough. All these are looking flossy. Look at that. Ooh, look at that one. Don't call me Domo Arigato Mr. Roboto, but dang, boy, looking like a robot welded these. Choo choo. So, all right, I'm going to pull the Nova in over there and see what I can do with that thing right there. Stay tuned. The time has finally come. I got my air pump. I'm walking over Alex's shop where Lebronze is stored. I'll pump up the tires, take them over to Dennis's shop, and I'm gonna actually start cutting on it to get this bracket prototype completely finished and on my site. Because man, I've been trying to do this for a long time. It feels so good. To finally be able to actually put it on a car. Look at him. This car would be so much cooler if it wasn't a 4-door, but man, I still think it's pretty cool. So I'm gonna air this tire up and fire this bad boy up. All right, let's fire this bad boy up. Normally, if this thing's already been running, you can just bump the key and it'll freaking fire up. But it's been sitting in here for a hot minute, so let's see. Got a pumper, got that mechanical fuel pump. I love this car. It's so awesome. All right, I'm gonna pull it over to the shop and get to hacking on this thing. By the way, this thing's got all the original interior, all original everything. Now it's about to have that all original Nicky Bobby front travel. Come on. Lebronze is in the shop. First thing that I'm going to do before I take anything apart is get the ride height measurement right now and see what the max travel is on a very stock, completely factory setup. Because everybody always asks, how much more travel? How much more travel? And it's hard to say because I don't know exactly what your setup is, you know, because some people have different setups. Some people already have different A-arms that might give them an inch more travel. They might have drop spindles that give them less travel. Every setup seems to be different. Obviously, not everybody buys the same stuff. So that's why it's hard for me to always give you an exact measurement on how much more travel my setup's going to give you over what you have. But what uh-oh, somebody's here. I think Amazon or UPS is here. One sec. Sorry, it was Amazon packages from UPS. Okay, so what I was saying is what I'm going to do with this is I will give you a factory travel length, and then I don't know how much travel I can get out of this setup. I know how much I can get out of the G-Body S10 stuff, usually around 10.5, give or take half an inch or whatever. This, I have no idea. So I've never messed with one, never done anything, but I know people are wanting to run a longer shock, and I've said it a million times before. It's, you know, getting more travel is the name of the game. Having 37 inches of travel, I don't think really does you anything. But getting more travel, say if you only have 3 or 4 inches, if you can get 7 to 10 inches, 10 inches is a lot. Sometimes you don't ever use 10 inches. But getting more travel and more shock adjustment, more shock control, spring availability, control, and just keeping everything smoother is why I make my brackets run the longer shocks, because there are other brackets you can get the same amount of travel with a shorter shock. But the name of the game is control, consistency, going faster. This running a longer shock, I think, gives you more control, gives you more it gives you more options on spring rates. You can run a 16-inch spring, or you could stack 2 7-inch or 2 6-inch springs, or 2 8. You can't really, I don't think they make 8-inch springs, but I've seen 7-inch springs, maybe even 8-inch springs. But I think 2 8-inch springs with a little spacer that actually keeps them together would be too long. But either way, not to get squirrel sidetracked, either way, you can stack stuff. There's just the possibilities are a lot more. I think I'm not wording that right. The possibilities are just endless. That's what I'm trying to say. But either way, I'm going to give you exactly how much travel this stock V6 Nova has, and then I'm going to see how much I can possibly get out of it. I've got the cheapest control arms. I bought them before I started doing my deal with Trick Chassis, which he's not even really producing Nova stuff yet. So these are the cheapest Parts Online Network or Performance Online control arms you can buy. They kind of look like the QA1s. I'm going to see how much travel I can get out of it. I might 3D print me up a ball joint spacer, since I know I don't have an extended ball joint for those, which I know I'm going to need to change that. I know it needs more articulation, so I might be 3D printing some stuff. It might be a couple-day process before I ever get the actual max travel out of this, but this is my starting point, and I'm going to take you guys through the whole process. So here we are at factory travel. Ride height was 24 3/4, full travel 29 3/4. So we got 5 inches of travel at factory ride height, which honestly isn't too shabby, you know. But one, you don't have adjustable ride height because you don't have a coilover. 2, the spring is short, so you're limited on spring rates. 3, the shock is short and probably has a little less control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the hood. I'm going to pull this tire off. I'm going to pop the upper control arm off, take it completely off, and then I'm going to start cutting to try to make this bracket fit. And then once that bracket fits, or if that bracket doesn't fit, I'm going to have to start remodeling that bracket, figure out what I got to do to make it fit. Put that new control arm on. I'm going to undo the spring out of there, undo the stock shock, and if I have to change that after I remodel that and reprint that, while that's printing, I'm going to see how much travel I can get out of here. And once I get the full travel that I can possibly get out of this setup, I'm going to see if these AFCO shocks that I got will work, because these are about the size. Looks like they might have leaked. That's no bueno. Maybe they'll have to get rebuilt. Either way, they're used. I'm going to see if these will work for the height that I want on the shock, and then go from there. So step 1, see if the bracket fits. Step 2, make needed changes. Step 3, get the full amount of travel I can possibly get out of this setup. So I'll probably have to pop the steering off. Obviously, like I said, take the spring, stock shock, everything out of it until I can get the most travel possible. And then we'll go from there. Look at that. I mean, I've probably spent 15 minutes cutting. All I had was 15 minutes. Cut that, clean that up. And that thing literally set right in there. Look how good it fits. I mean, there's just like a small gap here, but once you bolt it tight, that gap will be gone. And obviously, if I were most people, I would weld all this, but it'll have bolt holes here, here, and I guess there's even another hole there you could bolt it to. Dang, I'm happy about that. Look how good that fits. I still haven't got those supports off yet, so it's not gonna look that ugly, but that thing just sits right in there. And look how still fits inside this factory wheel well. If you had an LS motor, it wouldn't be. I mean, this is really just a little bit taller than factory. So the main thing now is I gotta look and see if it fits inside those control arms or if they hit anywhere, which I don't think they're going to. Check that out. I left that shock on there, but I think, this is a 90-degree bend. I think I could make that like a 87, like barely anything, and get that to where it sits on that perfectly. But either way, I mean, you could clamp that and weld it. But man, look how good that sets in there. So this little spring pocket right here is kind of hitting back there. You can see it's holding it up a little bit back there. So I may notch that before I mark for my control arm holes, but pretty giddy about this whole ordeal. Let me see I don't know where my shock piece went. Let me grab it. There it is. Look at that. Lines up perfectly. That shock will be mounted down here and go straight up to that mount right there. Man, that's gonna be freaking nice. I'm so happy about this whole ordeal. And that's gonna be, so this will actually, I could lower this, but once I notch it, it'll lower it a little bit so this isn't sticking so far up. It'll be a little more aesthetically pleasing. But for a first time fitment, that right there, it's got me pretty excited. Look how it just sits in there so perfectly. And the install would be, you could have both these things installed. You could have stock suspension, and you could have both the pockets cut out, trimmed, everything for the mounts, all that in a few hours. You could bolt this whole kit. You could do a whole long travel kit in probably 2 or 3 hours. Let's go. So I notched this just a smidgen right there, and then I marked and drilled my holes. So I'm gonna set this down in there, put those through there, and then see if that control arm will fit. Because I'm just extremely satisfied with how this is all turning out right now. Sorry, I'm trying to show you these holes, but look at that. It's so flipping awesome. Just to think, I just took some measurements, drew this thing up in CAD, printed it out of thin air, and now it's possibly going to be a full-time production piece that people are going to bolt on to their nose. This is what gets my blood flowing. Okay, first issue with this cheap control arm, which I'm trying to make this whole kit around any style control arm since Trick Chassis doesn't have Nova control arms just yet. And a lot of people have, honestly, these cheap Chinkinese ones. So my bracket, I was worried about this, is a little too big right here. So I'm gonna have to change the angle of this and the height of this to make it slope down more, which I think will make it look better. Anyways, I was just worried about being too short for that and screwing up the whole print. So I'm gonna go make some adjustments and start printing another piece once I get the adjustments made to that and start the other piece getting printed. I'm gonna start by trying to figure out how much travel we can get out of this bad boy by A, taking this stupid bump stop out, B, probably cutting this out or trimming that at least, and then C, I'll probably take this, bolt it on the bottom, and maybe even make a spacer for that to give us more articulation. So as you can see right now, that's hitting. So just gotta do a little trimming, but other than that, man, still so freaking pumped about this whole setup. I'm really excited about it. I hope you guys are as excited about me, are as excited as me. Sorry, sometimes I don't English so well when I'm excited and talking on camera. I get nervous. So, all right, I'm gonna go do some design work. I'll be right back. Well, after a lot of measuring and reconfiguring, this is what I came up with. I went ahead and cut the relief in the back because we don't need all that metal back there, and I put my business logo initials on there. So what I ended up doing was lowering right here. So the bend point was up here, and I lowered the bend point on both sides, and then which brings this down probably another 1/4 of an inch, and then I obviously trimmed this right here for the control arm, that whole area. I lowered this down here, and I trimmed that right there for the little hump that's in the frame. I put our bolt holes in there, and I made them elongated. They're not wide, and they're still the same width, but they're just a little bit elongated, so that way it gives you a little bit of wiggle room when putting them in, because I know not every frame is probably the exact same. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. The bracket should actually be, like I said, you can see there's more rake right here now. There's more angle on that one than there was in this one. There's just a little bit more. So this one should look a whole lot better and fit a whole lot better. And I also kicked, you can barely see it, but this piece right here where there was a gap, I kicked this out 2 degrees. So not a whole lot, but it's the little things that make the big differences when installing pieces and making production pieces. So this probably be another 11 or 12 hour print. So I'm gonna go get my SD card and get this thing printing, so that way I can go out and keep working on trying to see what I'm gonna do to make the maximum amount of travel on this Nova. All right, so here we are. I've got the new control. I've got the old shock out, stock springs, stock control arms. All that's gone. The only thing that's in there right now is the factory lower control arm and the factory upper control arm. And if you see in my time lapse, I put the ball joint on the bottom of the control arm to try to give us a little more articulation. And all that netted us was a 1/2 inch, or well, my measurements say 1/4 inch more of travel. Looks like maybe a 1/2, but according to my measurements, we've only got a 1/4 inch more of travel. So at full extension with all the stock stuff, we're 29.75, and right now on my mark to the ground, we're 30 inches, so 5 and 1/4 inches of travel now. So this is all part of trying to figure out what it takes to get more travel. So now what I'm gonna do, sorry, I keep moving the screen back and forth. What I'm gonna do now is, first thing I noticed, this is all part of it. You do one thing and then see what the next thing holding you up is. Do that thing, see what the next thing holding you up is. And you keep doing it until nothing's hitting, nothing's binding. Normally, the only thing that stops you is the angle of the ball joints, and you can only do so much for those. That's normally gonna be always your travel limiter. So, right now, you can see my A-arm is hitting the bucket for the shocks. So right there, I'm gonna trim either the control arm. I'm gonna end up trimming the frame anyways. So I'm gonna pull it back apart and trim one of those. So that way I can see how much more travel that nets us. But looking at this, it looks like our control arm, our ball joint is already close to binding because it's only got so much travel. It's just a cheap ball joint. So what I think I'm gonna do is I don't know if a spacer would help that or not. Space the upper control arm up, which would change the angle. Technically should change the angle of that ball joint. And then because our lowers, we've got plenty of angle left to go on the lower ball joint, which is about 11 years old. Either way, the ball joint I know is going to be the next limiting factor. After I trim that and get that out of the way, that's going to end up binding. So I may get me some 1-inch extended ball joints on order and then have to wait till that comes in. But either way, I'm getting it figured out. I've got the other printing. Not the other printing, but the new design printing. So why it's doing that, I'm trying to figure out what's going to limit me, what I'm going to need, and when I'm going to need it. So try to figure out everything I need today, get it ordered, so that way I'll have it next week because it's Friday today. That's printing. So I'm going to get as far as I can today and then order what I need to order. So that way I can figure out how to get maximum travel and how to put a kit together for this thing. So I just measured from here to here and cutting this little brace out. Apparently it wasn't hitting like I thought it was because it gave us no more travel, and nothing is actually hitting except nothing's hitting. The only thing binding right now is this ball joint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to 3D print a wedge, like a spacer that's shaped like a wedge that'll kick our ball joint back down and give me more travel. And I know you're saying, well, what if you already have control arms like this? Well, A, get longer ball joints, but I don't have that right now. So this will kind of be like I had an extended ball joint. Or B, I can have these made out of billet, sell them, whatever. Also, if Trick Chassis wants to start creating these arms, I can ship him this control arm with the angle of the ball joint that I want it or that we need it, and he can make his control arms with that exact angle, so that way nobody has to do anything crazy. So I'm going to pull this thing back apart and try to go design this little wedge thing while that over there is printing, and I think that's going to be where I stop for today. So that's probably the end of this video. Maybe not. I guess I'll video my little wedge deal that I'm gonna make, and then yeah. So been a good day. I really feel like I made a lot of progress. I learned a lot already about this, and I made a lot of progress on the brackets itself. So it's exciting stuff, and I'm gonna keep on chipping away at it. That's why I was so excited to get this thing in here, because I knew obviously what I already had wasn't going to be the perfect fit, and it wasn't all just going to be super long travel right off the bat. So what I'm trying to do is get the most travel efficiently, so that way all you no prep guys and gals with the Novas and the Camaros and stuff can have more adjustability. So I'm gonna keep working on this, and I'll give you an update here in a bit. As I was getting ready to take this apart, before I took it apart, I found this. This is from a demo model that I had of the G-body control arms, and it is a factory length ball joint, but it is a nicer version of what's on the Nova. It looks to be the same bolt pattern. I just checked. It's the same diameter studs, so I'm going to use this to measure for my spacer, my little wedge spacer, and I'm also going to put it back on because the way this one articulates, it looks like it has more travel in it than the kind of junky ones that come on those cheap control arms. So this one's going back on and it should give us more travel. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I did it. I actually impressed myself. I made the piece, and I even made washers that will keep the bolts from being all angled, because when you try to put the nut on the longer bolt that I'm gonna put in here, it would have been crooked on the actual, ball joint. So I made these little washers that I'm gonna print too. It's gonna be pretty slick. I hope it works, because I just guessed on the size. I'm making it 3/4 on one side and I think an 1/8 inch on the other. So that's it's a lot. It's a lot of slope. So I'm not sure if that's gonna be too much or enough, or if it's just gonna be stupid. I don't know. But either way, it shouldn't take that long to print, and I can always go back and change it now that I got the dimensions and the measurements and all that in there. It'll be easy to just go and change the slope of it. So pretty excited. Take a look at it. Bow, chicka, wow, wow. Look at that. So what it's gonna do is, when the arm comes down, it's gonna bind like this. So then I'm going to kick the actual face of this way to make this not bind that way. It's gonna take it up a bind. It's kind of hard to explain without seeing it there, but you'll see it once I get it printed and done. But for now, I have to wait for the other bracket to get done printing, and it won't be done for like 8 hours. So I'm gonna go back there and weld up some more brackets, package some stuff up, get it ready to ship out, and just keep working. So that's the end of the video for today. I'm kind of at a stopping point, and tomorrow is a brand new day, and I'll be able to put the other bracket on, this on, and see where we stand, see where we go from there. So lots of progress today. I'm really happy with how everything's turning out, and I'm excited for tomorrow. So I'll see y'all later.